Well, what's going on, guys? So for my next home mod with Tim's Garage, I'm going to be taking out a part of this fence to create a gate that's going to swing into my front yard area of my townhome. As you can see, there's my front door. Stairs go up, but I have no easement to the sidewalk through here. So I'm going to be cutting out actually part of this fence and replacing it with a gate. Now, one thing I'm going to be doing is actually using part of this existing fencing here as the front of the gate, or as the main part of the gate. So the first thing that I went ahead and did is actually just pulled out the nails that attach the wood to this post. So I pulled those out, and then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna measure and cut out the piece of the gate that I'm going to be keeping. I'm gonna cut that like right around here, right at this mark, where I'm gonna be putting in a new post that will allow for the gate to swing. It's gonna swing in and then latch that way. So what I did is I went to Home Depot. I got a couple 4x4s. So this will be my new post. And I got a couple 2x4s to help finish creating the frame of the new fence. Because since this wood will not be attached to this post anymore, I'm gonna need to complete the frame by adding in a 2x4 here and a 2x4 here. So if you can picture that, 2x4, 2x4 to create the square part of the frame. And then the 4x4 post will go right here and anchor into the ground with this cool 4x4 post anchor that I got. And this was about 13 bucks, I think, for this thing at Home Depot. And it's gonna save a lot of work in what a lot of people would do, which is dig a hole, pour concrete, and then stick that post in there. And I opted to go for this because it's going to keep me from having to do the concrete work, which is huge. It's going to provide a deep enough anchor. I can put the post in there, tap it down until it's flush with the ground. And then since I'm going to actually be having the gate swinging on here, most of the weight of the gate will actually be on this post, which is already concreted into the ground. So it just needs to come back and latch. So I'm going to get to work on pulling the gate, or putting the gate together, by first cutting this gate, this piece of the fence out and getting my hole going, and then using my saw to cut out these other pieces, and then digging the hole and putting it all together. So soon I'll have a new gate here. So pretty excited about pulling this job together and having access to my front yard. Okay, so I've done my measurements, and the first thing I did is I measured the distance between this vertical post support and the main post here, which is about 3.5, and then I wanted to do the same thing on this side, which is 3.5, because I wanted it to look even. So I have this set of 3 and the set of 3, and then a 2x4 running the full length there, and a 2x4 running the full length there. So that'll be the fence. And so what I did is I went ahead and marked that line where I need to cut out the main part of the fence. Then the next thing that I had to keep in mind was that I was going to be adding 2x4s to each end of this. So I had to measure the distance for the two 2x4s, which was 1.5 inches. A 2x4 is actually 1.5 inches wide. So one 2x4, two 2x4s make up this distance here. So when the fence is all said and done, or when the gate is all said and done, it'll actually come to this line. So because there'll be a 2x4 here and a 2x4 here, and that'll bump the whole thing to this line here. Then what I did is I needed to mark where my new vertical post was going to go, but I wanted to give myself a little bit of gap so it's not, sitting tight. I want a little bit of space in between to allow for the gate to swing close. So I counted for another 1/2 inch right here for the swing of the gate. And then from this line, I added the 3.5 for the post, which is here. So I need to do a cut here. I got to cut this guy out. And then I need to also cut out right at this line here, because then this is where the post will go. So 2 cuts, cut here. Technically it's 4 because I also have to do them on the bottom, but it's a cut here and it's a cut here, and remove this piece of wood. And then it will be to cut and assemble the main piece of the gate, and then put in the new post, which these two vertical things, parts of the fence will be gone. This one will still be here right up against where this new post is going to go. And you can kind of see, like, they've already done that here. Like, this guy is actually touching this post on this side. So, it's not a perfect system, but I think that'll look pretty clean once it's all assembled. So I'm going to go ahead and do my cuts. All right, so I've got my fence gate area cut out, and I've got my piece for the gate cut with that piece cut off the end. So the next step is to actually get these 2x4s, cut them to size, and then frame up the fence. Let me grab this other one. Like so. So that's the next step, is to cut those to size, throw some screws in, and then have that all framed up and ready to go. And then when I'm done with that, gotta do some digging in the ground. All right, so the new gate now is all framed up, ready to go. Got the 2x4s on each side. That thing is super sturdy. And again, it's going to hinge to this post here with the hinges mounted there. And then obviously once everything's all done, this whole fence is gonna get a nice new coat of paint. So those will all be painted up and looking pretty. So the next step is to actually dig the hole here for the post mount, or whatever you want to call this, the post stake, and then cut the new post and get it in place. Got to dig that hole out and then pound this thing down into the ground. I'd like to actually try to get this synced to at least right there below the ground level. So I got a lot of hitting to do. But the first thing is I'm gonna go ahead and dig out that hole. All right, so I dug out my hole to where the top of that, where is it? This guy, or the top of this guy, this depth here actually reaches right up to the bottom of the wood here. And I tried tapping in the stake, but this ground is so hard right now. It's been dry here in California for a little bit. So I actually just got some water, poured it in this hole. I'm hoping that the hole will seep up some of that water and make the ground a little softer, because I've got 30 inches of stake to tap in, which is a lot of stake. So honestly, this could have been half that length and it would have worked. If I can't get this tapped all the way down in here, I might actually decide on cutting that thing in half with my grinder. But I poured some water in here. Hopefully this will work to moisten the dirt to allow me to tap that stake down in there. So that's the next step, is to tap it so it's at this level, and then I can fill the dirt back in around this gray metal topper. You can see how the wood from these 2x4s is sticking out. Fill the dirt up to here so it's nice and clean, and then the 4x4 will stick out from there. So let's see if the water does a trick. All right, so I've got the stake pounded in now, and I've got the post slid into the stake here, and there's actually, if I dig this out, there's a couple of bolts and nuts here that you put around to clamp this down. So now this is in place. It's pretty sturdy, actually, sitting like right next to the fence, but you can see it's still loose. So the next step, I'm gonna have to throw a couple screws in to make sure that the fence is now attached to the new post. And then one thing to point out is that these posts actually have this 45-degree finish on them on the top to kind of finish them off. So I'm going to run the saw along each side here to get that cut, to get that same shape on the top. So once I do that and throw those screws in, this post will be done, and then we can move on to actually hanging the new gate. All right, so I've got my 45-degree angles cut on the top of my post. It's matching the other posts, looking good, nice and clean. Post is all in place. The next step is to actually go ahead now and mount my hinges. And I got these really cool spring-loaded hinges at the Home Depot. And I got two of them, obviously, and I'm gonna mount one here to the top of the new gate and one on the bottom, and then this pattern here will actually go right here on the 4x4. And since they're spring loaded, which is pretty cool, it's gonna wanna always try to keep the gate shut. So I'm gonna get those mounted up, and then to finish it off, once the gate is in place, is add the latch, which this piece will be mounted here, and then the little bar that clips into the latch will be mounted there. The next step is to get the hardware put on and check and make sure everything is swinging and in place. And once that's done, then actually I'm gonna go through and I gotta clean off with a power washer the old fence, get all the dirt and grime and dust and cobwebs and everything off of it. Then once I do that, then I'm gonna paint the whole thing. So I'll actually be taking the hardware back off to get it a nice white coat of paint before it all goes back together for a final look. All right, so got the new hinges installed and the new hardware put on. Looking good. Nice and clean. Now the next thing to do is just to, like I said, clean up the fence, paint it up. This project's pretty much done. I think what I like about these hinges the best is that they're spring loaded. So like when the gate's open, it just wants to close, which is perfect because we have dogs. And so if someone forgets to shut the gate all the way, it's just gonna go and latch, which is awesome all by itself. So looking clean, and yeah, just got to get it painted up now, and we'll call this project complete. All right, guys, so I just finished painting up the new fence gate. And one thing I actually did do too, I want to show you, is I added these metal straps here to tie this post up to the post on my banister that's going up my stairs. And the reason I did that is this one's pretty freestanding and it's been here a long time. So I just wanted to add the extra strength by putting in a strap here and one strap on the bottom as well. So these are just 2 metal straps, and then they hold in with 4 screws on each side. I painted them up white to look like the gate, and now it's all done and beautiful. So let me show you guys how it works. Just open it up, and again, the hinges are spring loaded, so it will always want to retract back. And look at that. Done. What a beautiful gate.